wanted to find out what it was actually like to live as a man, and what she reported should wake all of you up. She cut her hair, she lowered her voice, and she lived as Ned for over a year. And what happened to her is the part that most people don't like hearing. After the experiment, she had a severe depressive breakdown and she checked herself into a psychiatric facility. Years later, she chose medically assisted in Switzerland. Her name was Nora Vincent. These are the harsh realities that she said men endure. Number one, dating is a gauntlet. As a woman, you naturally get approached. As a man, you do the approaching. You risk rejection every single time. You risk being humiliated every single time. And she literally was stunned by how cold women could be to men that they weren't interested in. She said being a man felt like you're guilty until proven innocent, boring until proven valuable. You don't get any grace, you get tested. Number two, men live in an emotional straitjacket. If a man shows real pain, people get uncomfortable. He's told to man up. He gets looked at differently, even by women who say they want a sensitive man. She said it felt like a man's value wasn't who he was naturally. It was what he could do, what he could provide, and what he could endure. Number three, invisibility. Unless a man is high status or extremely attractive, he's background noise. He gets no compliments, no smiles, and no validation at all. Not like the women, nothing. And on top of that, she literally felt the constant pressure of being seen as a threat, a creep, just for existing in public. Imagine walking around feeling like you're automatically suspicious. That messes with your head. Number four, male hierarchy is real. Men test each other. Confidence, dominance, and their boundaries. If you don't push back, you get eaten alive. You get bullied, and then you get disrespected. Some men learn to harden up because that's how you survive in male spaces. Number five, the silent loneliness. This was the one that ended up crushing her. She said that men suffer in silence. They don't talk because deep down they believe something horrible. Nobody actually wants to hear it, so they isolate themselves. They bond around just activities, work, sports, projects. But when it comes to real emotional support, many men have none. And she described that as emotional malnutrition, a form of starvation that most people never even notice. These are her last words. Men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they are not better off. They need our help. They need our love, and they need each other more than anything else. Rest in peace, Nora.
So Steve sent that to me. So I wanted to show you that. And so that's what I did. You know, I've known a couple other women that did the exact same thing as this gal did. But these gals were going to do it for 6 months, and neither one of them made 6 months. Okay, and both of them ended it before 6 months was even up. And both of them were like, I never knew. I never knew it was this way for a man. Of course they did. They didn't walk in a man's shoes. Everything that she talked about is absolutely true. You know, it really is. It shouldn't be, but it is. But you know, the reality is the reality. You know, when she talked about the loneliness at the end. For years, that's exactly what it was about. Men were afraid to bring up what was going on to them. When they were gaslit. They were told it was their fault. They were told they didn't have confidence. They needed to have confidence. They needed to get a job. They needed to clean up. They needed everything. And it didn't matter if the guy did everything that everybody else was doing. You know, I used to say 1 to 5 seconds anymore. I think it's like 2.5 seconds. Okay, a woman already knows just that quick. But the reality comes down to this, you know. And when I think about this sarcastically, over the years doing what I'm doing and the amount of women I've met in my life, I can tell you this. Evil. Cold. I remember a woman who told me that anybody that would allow me to have a baby or give birth to a child of mine should be shot, should be executed, because I got bad genes and I don't belong in the gene pool and that I need to die off. Yeah, that came out of a female's mouth. Then you have the time I was leaving the beach, and the female says to me, I see a female and a guy coming onto the beach as I'm leaving the beach. And the female looks me right in the face and says to me, Ew, Ronnie, protect me out loud. Trying to instigate a fight between me and him. Okay? Disgusting. Foul behavior, just completely disgusting. But here's a kick in the ass for all you people who want to talk about going to the Philippines. I've been to the Philippines. I talked to a female over there for a little over a year before I ever went there. She was a school teacher. And I went there. She actually took me to the school she works at, introduced me to her class. Okay, and the substitute was in there. She wanted me to meet her class and the substitute teacher and blah, blah. And left the class. She was elementary school teacher and okay. Then she takes me by a government building and she had access to the mayor's office. That was a trip. Just to find out that her deceased husband was a politician. And she was well known. So I met the mayor of her community. But I found some very interesting things I would never have thought about the Philippines. But, in the end, this is how it goes. I'm talking to her, and she says to me, you can't say that. And I says, well, I can't remember what the topic was, or I'd tell you word for word. But I remember her, I'll never forget this. She says, you can't say that. And I says, why is that? And she says, are you a woman? And I says, of course not. She says, that's right. You're only just a guy. This is her words to me. I'm only just a guy. She says, and men, she says, do not have feelings or emotions like women do. Now, swallow that for a moment. So if you're born with a penis, well, I used to always tell anybody you're born with a penis, you're going to be dicked over your whole life. And I still stand by that, okay? But, to say that we do not have emotions and feelings like women do is to say that you're not human. So I worked it out over the years. This is my choice words, okay? I just have choice words for you about this situation. Okay, so this would tell me that for every woman out there that's gave birth to a boy, then it's obvious that they've had sex with a baboon, monster from the Black Lagoon, a swamp beast. That's right. E.T. from outer space, an extraterrestrial. Because, see, they couldn't have had sex with another human to give birth to a boy because it don't have emotions and feelings like women do. Okay? In reality, what she said was so foul, so wrong, so cold, black-hearted. Because anybody with a brain cell knows that, of course, men have emotions and feelings. We're human. That's right, we're not less than human. But, according to her, now she's a school teacher, that was really the kick in the butt. She's a school teacher who's saying this stuff. Okay? But see, so when you think you're running to a different country, like the Philippines, to get a better woman, you might want to question that. Because if that wasn't a sexist statement from somebody in the Philippines towards a man, what is? Follow what I'm telling you? That's the reason I wanted to do this video. Now, and I'm not doing no more. I told you I pretty much walked away from this. But I wanted to do this one. Steve shared this video with me. Yeah, Steve did. Mr. Holka. And I appreciate that. But I wanted to give a few choice words here about this. Because there was 2 other women that did the same thing that neither one made 6 months. And come out the other end saying a lot of similar stuff to what this gal just said. It's all true. It really is. They've got us divided that bad. You know, I think about it like this. Who had the right to tell somebody what the role in life is based on the gender? Yeah, people of powers to be who shaped your society decided your roles for you. Wasn't that nice of them? And created all the division that we're living in too. But I guess with that being said, guys, I'm out of here. You have a good one.